Get some chapstick. Yeah. You know? Yeah. My name is the Rookie, and I can't freestyle, but I like this beat, and I ain't been here in a while, so I gotta speak my mind, yo. I just gotta speak my mind, yo. Ooh. What's going on, Ricky? What I got my man on here is Ricky. Ricky Nickaberry. There we go. We got that audio connected. Yes, sir. So we're gonna give everybody a couple minutes to come on in, trickle on in. When I did the training on Tuesday, we got started around 7:10, 7:09, because we was excited. And so if you're already in the room, you can go ahead and leave your mic muted. There will be points and moments where you will have the opportunity to interact and engage. But for right now, we just listening to some beats, you know, waiting to get started. Today's training is exciting. It's about healing the shadow. And what we're gonna go over is 3 signs of needing to do shadow work, right? And the reason why I wanted to facilitate this training was because I felt like when I dropped that healing the shadow course, I don't think I emphasized the importance of why you need this, right? And a lot of people don't really know or don't know how to identify like, hey, okay, I need some shadow work. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why we are here today. We're gonna give everybody a couple minutes to come on in. I mean, not drink all the water, neither. Why even get started? What's going on, Ricky? What's going on? Appreciate that love in the chat. Ricky, let me make sure this lyric, right? I'm making sure, because they got the government on here, man. So with this lyric, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Okay. Yeah, okay, boom. What's going on, boo? I'm glad that glad you're here. I know you missed the first one, but we got you here today, and so I'm excited. Just gonna wait a couple more minutes, give everybody a chance to come on in, do what we gotta do. If you want to take some notes, definitely so, because we got the sauce coming, dog. I'm so excited. I'm always excited to freaking talk. Anyways, but yeah. I hope you have been having a wonderful week, a wonderful start of June. You know, I'm excited to be here. All of that good stuff. All of that good stuff. Yesterday I went to the beach. If you can tell, I am tan. My back, yo. It's like, geez Louise. My back is like a whole 3 people darker. I wonder if you can see it. Yeah, look at that. Right there. Well, my back busting, but my homie Izzy pointed out that we were in the water, and my back was still out. We had an umbrella, but we wanted our heads covered and our backs were out. So yeah, everybody a little chocolatey, but I'm loving the Florida weather. You know what I'm saying? Man, you know, the first 2 months, this is my 3rd month being out here, so we just getting it started, but excuse me, my first 2 months being out here, yo, talking about shadow work. And this is kind of wild. As I was really coming into my purpose and being able to identify and articulate spiritual success coach and what that looked like for me, I started working with a copywriter back at home in Nashville named Craig Freeman. And I was like, yo, I need to get this old narrative about myself and my life out of my head and put that new one in. All right. And this man told me a story. He wrote a story for me to help me get it out. He was like, yo, okay, boom, this what happened. Young Chastity moved out of her mom's house for the first time, and she ended up moving into a haunted house, right? But being that she moved out on her own, she couldn't go back home, right? But she ended up finding out that the house was haunted of older versions of herself, right? And she had to end up making friends in that house with those different versions of herself, i.e. the shadow. And I was like, whoa, how you just come up with that off the top of your head, boy? And it's actually kind of wild to see how that actually played out in my reality, yo, and how that really played out when I came here. I didn't realize that my own personal abandonment wound played a part in how I navigated my experience from the moment I got down here. It was really like on some real shit. It was like, yo, I'm here. Why is this not enough? Like, what the fuck is happening? Like, this is weird. Like, I should be a lot more light and airy and happy. Like, what is happening here, dog? And it was very weird because back at home, when I didn't have as much, like when I didn't have my own space, when I didn't have my own, you know, this level of get up and go and this level of freedom, I was still tethered to other people and getting around and all of that stuff back at home. But I was so fucking jolly and just so carefree no matter what happened. When I was working at the hemp store, and I was like, I struggled so much because I was like, yo, why can't I get back to that place? And I really did not realize that I tried to glaze over an emotional obstacle I faced the day before I left. Literally the day before I left to come here, I hit a major emotional obstacle, and I just tried to glaze right over that shit for the whole 2 months. And everything I did since that point of trying to glaze over that emotional obstacle, everything I did from that point was made from a lack mindset, yo, like real life. And that's why it's important to heal the shadow, right? And this is how we get to those sayings of like, ooh, we're gonna get to it in the training, but getting to those sayings of like, yo, why am I triggered? Like I thought I worked on this, but here I go again type vibe. It's because we are not feeling into our experience. We just try to glaze over shit, and that's not how it works. Yeah, that's not how it works. But yeah, that was some wild stuff. That's what happened. That's what went down. Let me make sure nobody else tried to enter. Yeah, no. All right, we're gonna get started in about 3 more minutes. About 3 more minutes. I'm excited. Very, very excited to share this information, y'all. Yeah. These beats make me want to freestyle, but I can't freestyle to save my life. On Spotify, this is Sexy Lo-Fi Beats to Make Love. And I love using this for moments like this. Definitely my stretching when I want to get deeper into my body. That's definitely when I use it. So yeah, you got a nice little, yeah, you know, little vibe, little bounce. It's a diddy bop. It's a diddy bop. Yeah, I'm so excited to get started. Come on, 2 minutes. Oh. Yeah, yeah. Let's see what we got going on. Yeah. I really gotta sip that water because drinking out them little glass mason jars be deceiving. 2 goals and that shit gone. I gotta slow my roll. You can never drink too much water. I definitely have not had enough water today, artists. I was about to say it's all good, just y'all, you know what I'm really looking forward to getting lyric like you got when you be doing your lives. I need to give me a banner shit. I need my name on the back of here, dog. That big old smiling picture of me, I want that right there. Right there. And my name right here. I'm gonna have to figure that out. That has to happen. All right, we about to get started. 7:09. I ain't waiting no more. All right, Lyric, give me a thumbs up if you're ready. We about to get started. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're ready. Okay. Yes, okay, so I need to get my stuff together. Ooh, okay, boom. Thank you for that tidbit right there, fam. That's why I was like, I need to get with you anyways on the whole podcast and facilitate and hosting thing, because that shit you got going on, dog, a bitch. That's why it's called Lyric Official, because it's official. Okay, so boom. All right, fam. As I was discussing earlier, the reason why we are here today is because I released a 4-part step-by-step course titled Healing the Shadow. And I really felt like when I initially put it out and began to talk about it, the importance of why I was doing it and why other people need the course. I don't think that importance was properly articulated on my part. And so I wanted to facilitate something that allowed people to even see and engage if this is something that pertains to them. Because a lot of times we're like, oh no, I got this under control. But then when somebody was like, oh, but wait a minute, you like, oh, damn, okay, maybe not. And so that's what this training is all about. We're gonna go over 3 signs that you need shadow work or that you have an unhealed shadow. Right. And so, boom, I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it, get this presentation going. I'm going to start screen sharing, and I'm also recording this. And so this will be available to you later on to use. All right, let me turn down the tune. Boom. Healing the shadow. And so welcome to the journey back to yourself, family. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to be here. I truly appreciate you as you're giving me the opportunity to share something that I'm very passionate about. And so let's roll. Boom, the contents of this course. And so here's what you'll find in this Healing Your Shadow course about what we're about to discuss. And so boom, what we're looking at, the 3 signs of having an unhealed shadow. The first one is that you're easily triggered, right? When you're easily triggered, that means you're like an open can of gasoline walking out into the world. Right. And that's not what we want. But to combat that, what we have to do is, I feel like, learn about the origin of the shadow, because it's hard to do something about being easily triggered, because that's the effect. Right. We want to get to the cause. And so the cause is learning how that shadow part of yourself was even created to begin with. And how we do so is in that section, we discover the origins of the shadow in order to better understand our purpose in the present moment. That way we can make a different choice and not be easily triggered. That way we can put a cap on that gasoline and then use that fuel when we actually need it. Because what we're going to find out is that our shadow does house those dark, icky traits that we try to put away, but it also houses some of the most noble traits and qualities about ourselves that we can use for fuel and energy, right? And the second one is, the second sign of having an unhealed shadow is struggling with acceptance, right? This one really be hard, right? When you struggle with acceptance. And to combat struggling with acceptance, we have to learn how to use the energy in the shadow. Just like I said, we have to know that we will encounter low vibrational and high vibrational energy in our shadow, and we have to learn the potential of it and how to use it. That's the most important part, because when we struggle with acceptance, it means that we are not allowing ourselves to feel, and we're just trying to process everything in our head, and it doesn't work like that, right? We need to connect our mind and our body to the entirety of the process. And the third sign that you have an unhealed shadow is struggling with self-worth, right? And this one is a doozy. This one is very interesting, because as we begin to navigate our shadow, it's like we begin to undo this cultural process that we're going to get in here into a minute. When we undo that process, and then we have to take responsibility for ourselves, placing value on ourselves is very hard because we're stepping out of an old narrative and having to step into a new one, right? And in order to combat low self-worth, we have to bring awareness to what's needed to heal our shadow for safe travel and how to express fully. Because what we begin to learn is that the shadow is nothing more than a bridge, right? It's a bridge between our higher self and our ego self, right? This is how we build that fountain of self-love, right? That connection that goes deeper to self, right? But if our shadow, this path that we have to walk back and forth across, either is missing planks or it's monsters every 2 steps you take and shit, you can't really get through there, right? And build that connection where you're gonna have problems, right? That's when you start to have a reality that's like you keep confronting the same obstacles over and over again, or you find yourself forgetting, right? That's a big problem, right? When you live in your head, you forget in the moment the choices that you want to make. And it's not only until after the fact when you're reflecting on it, you like, oh shit, this is actually what I wanted to do because I knew better. Well, if you could feel into your body because you weren't your shadow, that path between your higher and lower self, if that wasn't obstructed, you would have been able to feel into your body and then make that different choice. You know what I'm saying? And so boom. The next part of the training is that I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can work with me to start healing and maneuvering through your shadow. Because one of the greatest things that I've learned is that, you know, the journey to healing is your responsibility, but you really don't have to do it alone. And it makes it more beautiful when you're able to be supported, seen, and valued throughout your own journey, family. And then boom, we're going to do our thank yous and we're going to head on out. You know, nothing too much, but we definitely gonna get some tools and all of that going in this journey. So boom, let's see, let me get started. Okay, so Lyric, you already know who I am. So I won't even gotta get too deep into it, but a little spiel, a little bit. I am Guruji Chastity. And the reason that I'm doing this work, again, it's just like I said, the journey to healing is your responsibility, but you don't have to do it alone. And I remember struggling because I was alone. And so I've made it my work to be a support system for those who are ready to do the work. And so I offer energetic healing services for women struggling to overcome emotional and mental trauma, dealing with abandonment issues, body image issues, and people-pleasing behavior. And I am able to work with men by helping them feel deeper into their body through yoga therapy and through meditation. Right, family? Okay, boom. Before we get started, because working in the shadow sometimes can be a scary thing to do. And before you get in there thinking, okay, I got to change this, I got to do something about this, or I don't like this part about myself, remember that you are already perfect, whole, and complete, right? Our good sister Louise Hay got us ready for that one, okay? So let me, hold on, we're gonna let Soraya in the room. Okay. All right, Soraya, you should be in there. You should be good to go. We are already a little bit through the training. What's going on, player?
Hello? Hello?
I can hear you, Charlie. What's up, dog?
Oh, hey, man. So the thing on our, it said 8 p.m. And so we thought that it was at 8 p.m. Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Sorry. And we're at the mall. So she just looked it up on her email. And it says 7 p.m. Eastern. And I was like, well, that's now. That's 6 o'clock here.
Absolutely. Y'all got, I'm on Eastern time now. I put it in the form, but you know, that's my fault, dog. We just gonna get used to that adjustment, but we got this, player.
Okay. My bad. Okay, we're gonna go on mute. Sorry.
No, y'all straight, for sure, for sure. Y'all have not missed too much, okay? Y'all have not missed too much. Okay. So let me come on now real quick. Okay, boom. So this is where we were at. You know, Sister Louise Hay got us right and tight with this affirmation of I am perfect, whole, and complete. And I find that to be very befitting to set the intentions before we start doing shadow work, because sometimes we'll be under the illusion or the impression that we feel stuck or stagnant, or that maybe we're not getting it, or we're not moving as fast as we like. And we always have to come back to this statement, this graceful affirmation of I am perfect, whole, and complete. All right, so boom. What we're about to get into, family, is the 3 signs that you have an unhealed shadow or that you need to start doing some shadow work. And the first one is boom, being easily triggered and what that means, right? That's a tough one, right? That's when we start doing work and we be like, dang. Because when we start to do shadow work by ourselves, it's like when we're alone, everything is fine. I'm totally fine. I can navigate my reality. I can reflect on situations and different things that I've been through. But then as soon as I get around somebody else, it's like, well, shit, what is going on? Why am I easily triggered by other people, right? And what that looks like is, like I mentioned earlier, is pretty much being the epitome of an open container of gasoline, right? And you're just walking around waiting for somebody to do something to set you off, right? Because you're unaware of what's lurking deep within you, right? Because when we are easily triggered, that means we are not allowing ourselves to feel, right? For some reason, when we had that initial like situation, whether it's an actual situation, it's a person, whatever happened that easily triggered you, there was a belief system that said, I can't be here. I'm not supposed to be in this emotion, right? And so you just try to bypass it. You try to glaze right over it. You try to process it mentally in your head, right? And so when you do that, it's like, okay, you start to compartmentalize all of these different situations, all of these different little mini traumas, right? And then you go on about your life, and so you think. And then something happens, maybe the same situation or something similar that pops up, and now you're triggered because you're feeling it in your body, right? And so that's the problem, family, not living in our body long enough to capture the lesson, to capture the moment. We too many times become the emotion instead of feeling the emotion, right? And so it's a great sign to know that if you find yourself easily triggered, stop becoming the emotion that you're feeling and start feeling the emotion, right? Because when we become the emotion, we have to act it out mentally. Like you're telling yourself like, yo, I'm upset, I'm bothered by this, versus just being in your body, sitting still long enough to feel it and let it pass, right? But we've been taught sitting in our body is not a safe space to be. And it's like, well, okay, I get that. I understand being easily triggered, but what do I do about it? And this is why we're here, family. To combat being easily triggered, I have found that it's very important to know how your shadow was created in the first place, right? Because to know where you're going, you have to know where you've come from, right? And so when we're looking at being easily triggered, we want to know how the shadow was created. And what that looks like is understanding the cultural process. And so I began discussing that by asking this question: do you know what cultural process you have gone through, right? And that's actually, when we get deeper into it, it's kind of scary when you have to look back on it and you start to reflect on how many it is. It's like, yo, what? Right? So let's explore what the cultural process actually is. The cultural process is just defining what is good, what is bad, and then that process is dictated on the environment. So boom, the first cultural process you probably go through is the one at home, the one your parents, your mom and your dad told you, this is what is acceptable and this is what is not. These are the traits about yourself that you can show out here in public that we're gonna highlight, and these are the ones about yourself that you can't show and that we're not gonna highlight, right? It starts at home. Then we gotta go to school, right? Then we might go to church, right? And then this is the even crazier part. We might have a tribe of people that we come from, but the cultural process at your mama house might be totally different from the cultural process at your grandmama house. So now you begin to wear all these different faces of people, right? You begin to wear all these different faces of people. And so the reason why you're easily triggered is because I feel like just now, 5 different places you had to be with 5 different people that create 5 different symptoms, 5 different realities. I probably will be on edge too if I got to figure out how to fit in over there. What's the rules over here? What's going on over there, right? And then eventually those dark parts of myself that I've split off into all of these individual pieces, they begin to have wants and desires of their own, right? They begin to make up their own bullshit of what they're not getting, what they need, right? On top of being your own individual state of consciousness. You break off these little small splintered pieces of yourself, which is why things are compartmentalized in the mind, and then you're triggered, right? Because those triggered parts of you are those unfed, those unconscious parts of yourself that have been deemed negative or bad. And no part of the self likes to be denied. No part of yourself likes to be shunned away, right? And so when it gets shunned away, what it's doing is creating situations, confrontations, whatever, with other people, so you cannot leave it unhealed, so you can do something about it. So it's coming to your awareness, right? And that's why easily, right, you can put two and two together, like, oh shit, that's why I'm easily triggered, because it's the splinter part of myself that doesn't like to be denied, and it wants me to notice, hey, I'm out here, help me out, dog. You know what I'm saying? And then the most maddening thing about the cultural process is that it's totally arbitrary, right? Totally arbitrary, which means it's damn near an illusion, right? We need it to be civilized, but at the same time, it kind of takes away the whole human point of evolution, right? Because if my cultural process is based off of my mama, she just got, we just gonna say it, that could be a whole raggedy perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like, sis, I don't know if you got everything that you need and you out here telling me what's acceptable about me and not, right? And then that's why we get older and you got to do all of this work, and there's all of this confusion as to like what's going on, because then you begin to realize some of the thoughts and perspectives you have are based on someone else's jaded thoughts and perspectives that they had, right? Nobody really did any investigating to say, you know what, like, how does this really fit when we bring it from ideal land in our brains down into reality? You know what I'm saying? And so that's how we began to repair the idea of being easily triggered, right? And we don't have to sit in that anymore, right? And we notice that's the first sign of having an unhealed shadow, is that you're easily triggered. You pretty much walk around in your reality as an open can of gasoline. Excuse me, let me get some water, family. Y'all doing all right? Give me some thumbs up in the chat. Y'all still hanging on in there. Y'all know I'll be talking, dog. So boom, struggles with acceptance. All right, I hope everybody's still rocking and rolling, because we hitting it, dog. We hitting this information, right? Struggling with acceptance, right? That one's a tough one, right? Because if I'm easily triggered, right, my gasoline set off and you want to tell me to put it out. What you mean, dog? Put it out. It's like, what? How does that work? Right? And so when we struggle with acceptance, we struggle to feel safe in our own bodies, to know that, yo, I have the right and the ability to be all vibrations, right? Accepting that those parts of me that I was once told were bad actually might not be bad. I have to accept that maybe they were put there for a reason, or maybe those safeguards were put in place so I can have a deeper lens in which to view myself, right? But when we struggle with acceptance, it is our inability to see that there is an obstruction that's stopping us from connecting deeper into ourselves. And the way that we combat that is learning what lies in the shadow, right? Because at first we needed to know, okay, boom, if I wanted to go somewhere, where am I going? Right? So once we figured out where you were going, right, which is the shadow, and we learned how that was created, now we have to learn what kind of things am I going to experience in the shadow? Therefore, I can keep moving on my journey and I don't get stuck in one spot, right? Because I know that the shadow is pretty much illusion land, right? I hope y'all have seen The Magicians, I wonder. But think about like being cast under a spell, right? When you travel through the shadow lands, there are so many people, so many parts of yourselves that you meet that are like illusion lands, and you can get sucked in and get trapped there forever, right? If you don't know how to accept. And that's why it's good to know ahead of time learning some of the things that can lie in your shadow, right? So you can know how to navigate when you reach it, right? That's what acceptance is all about. When you reach those new levels of yourself, how do you bring balance and equilibrium? Because when you move up, with new levels come new devils, like TD Jake said. But when you encounter new devils, you left some behind. And so you still have to adjust. And that's what acceptance is about, right? And so, boom, learning what lies in the shadow so that you're prepared, so that you can navigate, so you can tell that them obstacles, back up, cuz ninja them things real quick. And so there are 3 different types of obstacles you may potentially meet when you're in your shadow, right? And so number 2, right? The second sign of having an unhealed shadow is that you struggle with acceptance, right? And the things that you struggle to accept are these 3 parts of yourself. And boom, the refuse. Those are parts of the self, the perceptions of the teachers of culture did not approve of or shun, right? And so those are surface level things, right? Those are surface level, superficial things that the teachers of culture told you were bad and that you should feel bad about, that were wrong, right? And that you refuse to see about yourself. Those are very superficial. For instance, for me, we're going to use my bald head, for example, my entire life, yo. Like I remember being in college, yo, and my mother came down to visit me for Valentine's Day with my brother. At that time, I had a mohawk. I had a perm in the middle with a buzz cut on the side. My mama wanted me to let my hair grow out uneven and just let the side meet the middle. No, dog, I'm finna shave my head, right? My mom got so mad about what I was saying about shaving my head, right? And here we are now, and I have a bald head, right? I was taught that as a woman, femininity resided in my hair, right? Unless the only reason you wouldn't have no hair on your head is unless you was trying to be a boy, right? And now we got more superficial things about how my external appearance, right, dictates what's good and bad about me. You see what I'm saying? That's how we see the refused parts of ourselves. It's going to be those small, superficial things that the teachers of culture told you that were good or bad, right? And then they continue to build on themselves. If you don't remedy the refused things, those small, superficial things, then we start to get a little deeper, right? The next level is going to be the unhealed, right? The unhealed parts of the self are the parts that can be felt as distorted, broken, or empty, but are consciously denied, right? And so I was talking about this before we got on. When I came down here and I just moved to Florida, the day before I left, I went through an emotional trauma. I had an emotional blockage, right? This was the part of myself that can be felt as distorted, broken, or empty, but is consciously denied, right? I tried to mold over, glaze right over that emotional trauma, right? But it felt broken. Something felt empty. Something felt distorted, because the full 2 months that I've been here, since I've been in Florida, you can tell by my choices, by the reality that I was creating. Something was wrong, but consciously I was denying the fact that I went through an emotional trauma, right? I didn't want to accept and say, yo, my feelings were hurt and this is why. It don't have to always be with that person who did it. Most times it's just with yourself, right? That's what unhealing, like when you're unhealed, you're not willing to face your own self and say, look, these parts of me are distorted, broken, and empty, and I need to consciously do something about it. I need to address it verbally and then take steps to remedy the internal turmoil that I've been going through, right? And you can continue to see how this builds on one another, right? And so the unhealed parts of ourselves are the parts of ourselves that we just consciously deny. And we know that something feels off. We feel empty, we feel broken, but we tell ourselves, it's cool, I don't got time to do that right now, or I gotta keep going, or I gotta have a brave face, or you know what? I don't got no time for crying. What's that gonna do, right? You are just creating deeper unhealed pockets of yourself, right? And once you get to the unaccepted part, right, that means not only have you refused, you are unhealed, now you are completely rejecting parts of yourself. And all that does is create inner self-sabotage, right? And when we have unaccepted parts of ourselves, what we can see happening is that things can be going really, really well, but we go out of our way to do something to undermine everything that we just did, right? And so the unaccepted parts of the self is to hold and acknowledge that holding is taking place, thus denying the divine right to heal, right? And that looks like, excuse me, family, let me get some water. But that looks like feeling like this supposed to be your plight, like this supposed to happen, that there's nothing, how I want to word that. A lot of times we forget that healing is also a part of the process, that we have just as much access to that as we have access to the chaos, right? And we have to begin to learn and understand that in order to create higher moments and higher mountains to rise to, we have to create a little bit of chaos and create muck in our life, but we have to connect the two by making sure the shadow is a safe place for travel, right? And so when we get to the unaccepted place, it's literally like saying, because in other lectures, family, I pointed out that negative stimuli in our reality seem more real because they are more dense, they are heavier, right? And so that means when we get to the unaccepted, that's pretty much putting your hands up and being like, okay, you know what? Because I was told these things on the superficial part of my life, which is the refuse, right? We begin to believe those things, right? And then we begin to internalize them. We know that they may not be suiting us, but we're internalizing and pretty much seething in the inside, but like, this is life and this is what we have to do. And then we begin to create these broken, splintered parts of ourselves who feel like that this is just life. And when we see the external stimuli matching the illusionary belief, we just figure that like, okay, this is what's supposed to be happening, and we relinquish our divine right to heal, right? And that's how we get caught in that hamster wheel of being able to help ourselves. That's how we find ourselves caught in those jobs that we know we don't want to be at, right? Because we created a part of ourselves that's totally unaccepted, and that's false, right? It's navigating from a false reality, right? And until we break that false reality and remember that like, oh shit, I can pick this up and I can do something about this, or I can go to this monster and not run away from it. I can figure out why the fuck it's terrorizing me. You know what I'm saying, right? And so these are the 3 different obstacles you'll meet when you begin to navigate your shadow. And they have 3 opposite positive qualities that you can transmute. The refuse part of yourself can be transmuted into a noble quality. So can the unhealed, and so can the unaccepted. These are not parts of the self that just stay, stagnant and unmoving, right? You can do something about them. And that's why it's important, because again, in the beginning, right? Because we don't want to be easily triggered, we have to know, why would I be triggered in the first place? Thus, let's figure out what the shadow is, how that shit was even created. Okay, boom. Now we know what the shadow is, the exact place. Before we go in that place, we need to figure out what type of obstacles we may hit, because we need to navigate. We need to know what type of tools, what type of weapons, what type of protection we need as we travel this unknown land, right? And that's what we just learned here. What lies in the shadow? These are those 3 different types of obstacles, right? And next, we are going to learn struggling with self-worth, right? Because as we begin to navigate those obstacles, right? Some of those things might tell us we should be ashamed of them. We should be guilty. But some of those things are going to be uncomfortable to sit in because we've just been glazing right over them. And so our self-worth and all of that is going to be tested, right? And this is where we're going to have to build it. This is where the metaphorical strap your boots up, right? Because this is almost like the dark night of the soul when we begin to build that self-worth. Because again, not only are you letting go of old beliefs, but you're implementing new ones. And that's just as hard. That's just as difficult, right? And so we have to begin to navigate that. And to do so, we have to find what joy awaits when the shadow is a breach, right? And let's look at that right there. Boom. Self-inquiry. That's the best way to do it. You know what I'm saying? When we struggle with self-worth, it's because now that we have to take responsibility for the value that we place on ourselves, we got to make sure we asking the right questions, because before we was accepting some bullshit, right? So when we start to ask ourselves the right questions, we can navigate. Okay, I'm not doing that $1.50 shit no more. I got to step my game up, my standards, my value is going up. Therefore, I got to start being the essence that I say that I am. You know what I'm saying? But struggling with self-worth is because you don't know how to articulate, right, what you're finding in your shadow, how it makes you feel, right? Is it true? Is it not true, right? And then there's a complex that we find. When we want to build self-worth, we want to build it on all levels, on our mind, body, soul complex, right? We want to feel deeper into the body, because as we remove those obstructions, right, in our path of the shadow, right, it's like, to make sure you're removing the right block. You gotta pay a toll with the right question, and you gotta investigate it, because you might move a rock and then all of a sudden you got lava spewing up, which is blood and trauma. And it's like, okay, now wait a minute. Before we rip this band-aid off or remove this rock, let me make sure I'm intentionally going after, right, this information, right? And so, boom. Questions to ask ourselves when we want to begin to develop self-worth, right? Combating self-worth means knowing how to transmute and utilize the energy in the shadow. And one of the ways to do that is to begin through self-inquiry. So the first area that we want to look at is the mind, right? What promotes a connection to your higher self, right? And how that shows up in your reality, because as we think about it internally, as we're navigating the shadow, what appears to be the light at the end of that bridge for you? What is it? It has to be something that your higher self beams to you, whether that's an activity, that's a thought, right? It could be a phrase that you always hold near and dear to your heart. It could be a particular activity that you do every single day. But you have to begin to get curious about what promotes a connection to your higher self. Because what's going to happen is you're going to go out into reality, into life. And again, remember, be easily triggered. But if I know what promotes a connection to my highest self, I can always continue to fill my cup and not create from a space of lack, because my cup is always full. And when my cup is not full, because I know what promotes a connection to my highest self, I can press a break. I can say, no, I don't want to do that. Or I can say, no, that doesn't serve my greatest and highest good. Let me choose another option. Right? But if I never get curious and know the answer about that, then you'll break down, your bus will break down before you realize, oh shit, I should have stopped for gas. When you could have saw that we was on a quarter tank of fuel, 10 activities, 2 conversations, and 15 minutes ago, dog. You see what I'm saying? Let me get some water. And then boom, the body. Next, we want to begin to question what helps me connect deeper to my body and what pushes me into my head, right? Because then we can know when to stop, right? We can know when to say, okay, you know what? I've taken in enough information to kind of process this mentally. Now I want to bring this into my body. Let me see what my body says. Do I need to cry about this? Do I need to run? Do I need to release some anger? How do I release this thought in my mind, right? Because the mind and the body have to work hand in hand, right? It's cause and effect. If I participate in the cause, I don't have to be shocked by what happens in the effect, right? And so when I know when I need a mental hug, I don't have to overwork my body. Or when I know that my body needs a hug, I don't have to overwork my mind, right? But I have to know which one sets me deeper or farther away from either. That's the importance of building self-worth, right, family? Because when we don't know what connects us deeper into our bodies, then we start to hold space for bullshit. You know what I'm saying? We start to hang out with people who really, it just feel good, but they don't mean us no good. You know what I'm saying? And that's a whole different vibe. You see what I'm saying? But we don't know that, or we don't know when the difference between my thoughts and your thoughts, right? Oh, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm taking on people's energy. Well, then you should have a safeguard. Your mental game should be like a ninja. You can't get in here, dog, because you should know when I need to separate, or when I need to, hey, me and you, family, we need to meditate right here, right now, right? Because you pushing me into my head with your thoughts, right? We need to be able to normalize saying that, like, yo, I can feel that because I am in my body. I am at this present moment, right? And to get to that moment, you practice this with yourself. This is building the connection to yourself between your authentic self and your ego self, right? This is how you build it. First, you know the place in which I'm building. What's the land I'm building on? That's the shadow, right? Then you need to know what materials you need, right? Do I need a glue gun? Do I need cement? Do I need brick and mortar? What do I need, right? And then when we get down here to the self-worth, we begin to, how do we maintain this, right? How do I maintain my path and keep it open? That's how you heal the shadow. All 3 of these, family. We've pointed out what causes obstructions, but we pointed out how we heal it at the same time, right? It don't gotta be rocket science. You just gotta pay attention. You know what I'm saying, family? And then boom, last but not least, the soul. What helps to water my soul? We need to figure out what keeps the path open and flowing, right? There's going to be something, some type of, again, activity, and it does not have to be external. It can be something totally internal that you do personally that helps nourish what's going on in the inside for you. For me, internally, it's literally feeling into my body. Like stretching and rolling out every day is a thing. Or what helps to water my soul is keeping track of where I'm watering, right? Because let's just say I'm a potted plant. That circle ain't just, every time we water, every part of my soil is not going to be hit. Sometimes we might need to hit this up in sections. That's why I use the star planner. That way I can get a look at all 7 of my chakras and see how well I've tended to them over a course of 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, a month, 2 months, whatever the case may be. But it can show me, because I might be overwatering some things, but I might be underwatering some other aspects of my life, right? But that's what that looks like. And that's why we use, again, tools, right? But the idea is to know the who, what, when, where, and how of the tools. That's why it's important to work with me, because some of the tools that I got may not work for you. You may have tools that you know you already got, you already know what they're about, but you may not be able to articulate the words to them, or you may not know when to whip them things out. And that's what working with me does. It teaches you that. Like, it helps you to bring clarity, like dusting away, pushing out the illusion so you can truly see what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because, it's hard to navigate, okay, what am I doing? Do it, then reflect on it, then do something else. But if you have somebody there who can see what's happening and can help you navigate, it makes it that much easier, that much more intentional. Because what they forgot to tell us is this life shit is not supposed to be hard, dog. You know what I'm saying? All right, so boom. If you're ready to do the work, if you like, okay, wait a minute, some of this stuff been hitting on me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like she's been talking to me this whole time. What's up, dog? If you feel like that, there are 3 different ways to work with me. And boom, if you're ready to do the work, the journey to healing is your responsibility, but you don't got to do it alone. Okay, let me quick plan. So boom, the first way is my one-on-one coaching program. And so you can work directly with me in a customized 3-month one-to-one coaching program utilizing the AIM process. And this one right here, if you like, what, enough is enough. I'm tired of shortchanging myself. I'm ready to get to work. And you want to see shit happen in your life right now. That's the program for you. That one is the most hands-on. It's the most interactive. You get to, again, work with me directly. We use Trello. I give you so many tools to help you navigate, to help you unearth, excavate, and remember who the fuck you are. You know what I'm saying? That's what that program is about. You know what I'm saying? Boom, the second option, Healing the Shadow 4-part course. With this one, you can begin studying right now at your own pace by downloading the step-by-step 4-part course. And again, that one is still with me, right? I'm still navigating you through all of these parts, learning about the shadow and what to do. But it's just, you're able to do it on your own. It's some people like self-study. For quite some time, that's all I ever did. That's all I ever learned. Half of the things I do is because I'm self-taught, right? And so if you like to study by yourself and you like to freak it and tweak it like that, and you want to show up later and be like, look, dog, is this how this works? Yes, this is the course for you. And that one is super, super easy. There's a link, you put in your email, and then boom, you got your courses and they download it right on your phone. Easy. It's very convenient. All of that shit. You can pull it up anywhere. Same thing goes for any of this stuff though. It's very convenient. And then last but not least is healing services, right? I offer energetic healing services, which is you allowing me to hold space for your healing by providing a healing service designed to bring alignment back into your being, right? And that is Reiki, that's yoga therapy, that's breath work, that's meditation. Or if you just want a one-off, one-to-one coaching program in which this is what we do. We get clear on what you're trying to create in your reality, what's stopping you, and immediate tools to use right now, right? Those healing services are available to you if you're ready to begin working on your shadow, family. And so this is what this training is about. That's it, healing the shadow. And so we have learned 3 signs that you need to do shadow work, or that you have an unhealed shadow, right? And that's when you're easily triggered, when you struggle with acceptance, and when you struggle with self-worth. But we also talked about 4 ways to combat that, how to heal that right now. And then we also talked about 3 different, I said 4, we talked about 3 different ways. And we also talked about 3 different ways that if you're ready to start working with me, you're ready to hold yourself accountable and get the work done and be intentional about your healing, we can do it, right? We talked about those 3 different ways. And so I am here, family. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's training. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at gurujichastity@gmail.com or gurujichastity.com. You can always visit me at Patreon, which is your spiritual university. Learn it at your fingertips, family. And that's patreon.com/Guruji And then you can find me on Instagram and on Facebook at guruji.chastity. Very, very simple. You know what I'm saying? And that is our time, family. Let me get back on here. Turn the right side up. Pull that Zoom back up. You know what I'm saying? All right. So yeah, if y'all still in here, let me see. Ricky iPhone. I keep moving this mug up and down. Let me stop screen sharing real quick. Boom. Y'all can see my face. Admit. I don't know how Lyric got put out. Okay. Lyric, we got you back. I don't know how you got put out, brother.
I didn't know that was Lyric.
What'd you say?
I didn't know that was Lyric on here.
Yeah, they got that man by his government name, Ricky Nickerbarrel. Nicky Barrel.
I was wondering, I
Nicky.
don't know who Ricky is, but they said hi.
Yeah, that's Lyric, boy. Yeah, young Charlie. So yeah, that's the training today, fam. I hope you have enjoyed it. I appreciate you for tuning in.
Great. Thank you. Sorry, I was late. I won't be late next time.
It's all good, dog. You enjoying that lunch? Oh,
yeah.
It's dinner time now. What you eating, big dog?
French fries, some broccoli, some kale, some cabbage, and some noodles.
Come on, I'm here for the French fries, dog. You know, I try to eat them by every day.
Man, I don't do all, well, I don't do it all the time, but yeah, these fries.
Thank goodness for Fee, and she hooked me on the burro potatoes, so I can switch it up.
Yeah, I need to learn how to do that. We'll get back.
Right. What'd you say?
I said I'm gonna get back to doing right.
I feel you. Well, player, I appreciate you. That's our time, and we're gonna get off this thing. Enjoy the rest of your evening, good dog.
Thanks, you too, man.
All right, peace out. Oh shit, I can see you. Hey, what? I love you. Okay, I can't hear you, but your sound fucked up. But I love you. Thank you, bitch. Okay, yes. Peace out, boo. I'm gonna see you next time. I love you too.